There's a number that's been living in my head all week, and I promise, by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why it changes how you see every single person around you. That number is $1.28 trillion. That's how much Americans currently owe in credit card debt. Not mortgages, not student loans, credit cards. And yet, luxury car sales are climbing. Designer brand revenue keeps growing. Social media is overflowing with people showing off watches, bags, vacations, and lifestyles that, when you do the math, simply don't add up. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What if most of the wealth you see around you every day isn't real? Because once you understand what's actually happening, once you see the pattern clearly, you will never look at other people spending the same way again. And more importantly, you'll start questioning your own. If you stay with me until the end of this video, I'm going to show you something that most personal finance content never touches. The psychological engine running underneath all of it. Not just the symptoms, the root. Here's where most people get this wrong. They think fake rich is about other people. The flashy coworker, the Instagram influencer, the guy at the bar who won't stop talking about his portfolio. But this isn't really about them. This is about a system. A set of invisible social pressures that most of us are operating inside of without even realizing it.
And that system is designed almost perfectly to keep money moving out of your hands and into someone else's. Stop. Before you decide this doesn't apply to you, it probably does. Not because you're foolish, because you're human. And humans are wired, deeply and biologically, to care about how they appear to others. That's not a character flaw. That's evolution.
The problem is that the modern economy has figured out exactly how to weaponize that instinct against your financial future. So let's talk about what's really going on. The entry-level luxury trap is the first place it shows up. Someone buys the base model BMW, the starter bag from Louis Vuitton, the logo belt. They want the badge, not the product. And manufacturers know this. They build these entry points on purpose because status anxiety is one of the most reliable revenue streams in the world. Here's the uncomfortable math. A fully loaded Honda Accord costs roughly the same as a stripped-down luxury sedan. Better features, better reliability, lower maintenance costs. But the person caught in this trap isn't buying a car. They're buying what they hope other people will think about them when they see it. That's a very expensive thing to purchase, and it delivers almost nothing in return. That's the first layer of the illusion. The second one is where it gets uncomfortable. Because it's not just about cars and bags. It shows up in how people talk. There's a specific type of person, you've met them, who steers every single conversation back toward money. Their income, their investments, the deal they're working on, the opportunity they're about to capitalize on. And it's always future tense. Once this closes, when this pays off, I've got something huge coming. People who are genuinely secure about their financial situation don't need to remind you constantly. Their reminder isn't for you. It's for them. And then there's the leasing cycle, which deserves its own conversation because it's become so normalized that most people don't even recognize it as a red flag anymore. When you lease a vehicle, you're financing the most expensive years of that car's depreciation and then handing it back. Zero equity. Then you start over. Lease, return, lease, return. Someone who does this for 20 years has made hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments and owns absolutely nothing at the end of it. That's not a car payment. That's a subscription to an image. Now here's the thing, and this is where we get to the psychological mechanism I mentioned earlier. There's a reason all of this keeps happening, generation after generation, even as people intellectually understand it's not smart. It's because showing off gets rewarded. Spend $1,000 at the mall with me video outperforms watch me add $1,000 to my emergency fund every single time. The first feels aspirational. The second feels boring. So people learn, consciously or not, that performing wealth generates attention, whether or not the wealth is real. And attention starts to feel like validation, and validation starts to feel like enough. Nobody posts their budget spreadsheet. Nobody films themselves saying no to something they want. The algorithm rewards the performance of prosperity, so people keep performing it, even when it's slowly hollowing them out. Here's what nobody in personal finance wants to say out loud. The people performing wealth the loudest are often the ones building the least. Because the energy required to maintain an image, the constant upgrading, the social media curation, the keeping up, leaves almost nothing for the slow, invisible, unglamorous work of actually accumulating wealth. Real wealth doesn't photograph well. Compound interest is boring to watch. An emergency fund doesn't make for good content. But those things, the quiet, undramatic financial decisions, are what actually create freedom. Not the bag, not the car, not the watch. And there's one more thing I want to leave you with. The quiet habit that actually separates people who build wealth from people who perform it. I'll get to it in just a moment. But first, let's talk about what you can actually do with all of this. The practical shift isn't complicated, but it does require honesty. Before your next significant purchase, ask yourself one question. Am I buying this because it genuinely serves my life, or because of what I want someone else to think? That's it. That's the whole framework. Because most financial damage isn't done in one catastrophic decision. It's done in 1,000 small ones, each individually justifiable, each quietly optimized for external perception rather than internal progress. You don't have to become someone who never enjoys nice things. That's not the point. The point is knowing why you're making the choices you're making. The person who buys something expensive because they love it and can genuinely afford it is in a completely different position than the person who buys the same thing to prove something to someone who probably isn't paying attention. Start with the foundation. An emergency fund that actually covers emergencies. Debt that's decreasing, not growing. Savings that exist before the spending happens, not after. None of that is exciting. None of it gets likes. But it's the difference between having options in your life and not having them. Now, that quiet habit I mentioned, the people who actually build wealth over time share one thing. They've stopped optimizing for how their financial life looks to others, and they've started optimizing for how it works for themselves. Every decision gets filtered through a different question. Not, will this impress someone, but does this move me toward the life I actually want? That shift sounds simple, but it runs against almost every social pressure you're surrounded by. It takes real clarity about what you value, not what you've been told to value, not what gets engagement, not what signals success to strangers, what you actually want your life to feel like 5 years from now. Real wealth whispers. It doesn't need anyone to notice. It doesn't require validation. It exists whether or not it's visible, whether or not anyone else sees it. The fake version is expensive, exhausting, and leads somewhere you don't want to end up. The real version builds quietly, sometimes frustratingly slowly, until one day you realize you have options that most people around you are only pretending to have. You're not behind. You're not broken. You've just been swimming in a current designed to pull your money away from you. Seeing it clearly is the first step to swimming in a different direction. Progress beats perfection, every single time. If this video made you think differently about something, about how you spend, how you see others spending, or what you're actually building, subscribe. I cover this kind of thing every week. Not hype, not get rich quick, just clear, honest thinking about money and the psychology behind it. And drop a comment below. What's one financial decision you've made in the past that was more about image than actual value? No judgment. I've been there too. The best answers I'll bring into the next video, because next week I'm going to show you the other side of this, what the people who quietly build real wealth actually do differently. And one of those things is going to genuinely surprise you. It surprised me.